Hello Plastic Model Builders, I am Ari Stone with Plastic Model Builder, and this is the AMT USS Enterprise NC-1701, 3, 4, 10, 92, whatever the numbers. Anyway, this is the full build. You see we have our disc here, which is the main disc. There is a lot of flashing that I had on there to get off, so pay attention to that. We are going to build this model. You saw I put together the base, really simple, has a rod, goes into the black base there and push it in. And this is the build, so watch along with me. Thank you for joining. Remember to subscribe, comment, and like. We do a chat every Saturday morning when our premieres happen. So I've got the disc glued together. There's a lot of sanding work to do on this kit, so take your time. It can be a beauty if you make it look pretty. It's model making madness. So this right here, this is going to be the hull of the ship. It comes in 3 pieces. Got these 2 pieces that you have to fit together right here. As you keep watching, we'll show the full construction of that along with the radar. We're also going to show you how we paint this model, weather it, and all that good stuff. So like I said, just keep watching, you can see it all. I've got my liquid cement going in here. Really had to make sure this stuff got in there good because the fit is not the greatest. So this is a kit you will have to actually do some modeling on. It doesn't just fit together like some high-end kits. Press these together, let the glue dry really good. You see me putting a little more in there, which may have not been a good idea because you know sometimes it reactivates itself. So this is the bay door. Make sure the lines go vertical going up. That's how that goes. I had trouble understanding the directions. They were not the clearest in the world. This is going on top right here. You see it's got little tabs that it has to fit into. Press it down. Once it's secure, glue it in place. You see how that bay door goes just like that on the rear of the craft. We're going to have to fill the seams on this and level them out. This also has raised detail for windows. You can do various versions of this aircraft. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know how that goes. Probably not the D version. That's a different generation altogether. You could see where the rod will go for that. So this is basically me using a knife. I'm going along, smoothing out these edges. Just take your time. That's all you have to do. Be careful with it. In hindsight, when I put this model together, it would be easier if you paint each part before you assemble it to the main body and as well the nacelles. It would go a lot easier. It's a lot easier to paint in big sections. So you can see right here where I'm doing all this finishing work. I'm using tube glue. That's right. Why? Because it's thick stuff. It melts really good. And I wanted this thing to hold on without breaking apart. And it worked very well because I can tell you what, when I put the nacelles together, I did them incorrectly. One indented side and one smooth side. I put on 2 indented sides together because I didn't understand the directions, and you can see that right there. Look at me gluing that up. Don't do that. I had to break that apart later. In fact, I had to break both of them apart. 2 shiny sides. No, bad. Anyway, we are going to put on the nose cones and the rear. This is the right way. As you can see, a shiny side and an indented side. Just work slowly with this, you know, put your clamps on these things. Make sure it's bonded together really good. You can paint these while they're off. That would probably be a good thing to do. Not on to the actual hull. And you can see right here, just putting all that glue in there, making it look pretty. Or at least what I can make look pretty. This has a little mark where it goes in, so you have to be careful when you put that in. Not the best fit. Same with the front of the nacelle. You kind of just have to line this up and make sure it's on properly. There really isn't anything that registers it. These, you kind of have to guess where they go and look, be like, okay, I think this is halfway in the middle. I'll stick it right here. Make sure it lines up properly based on how the aircraft is supposed to go, and glue them down. Again, the instructions are not very clear on this model, so just do the best you can. Once these nacelles are glued up, I'm going to put on some of the side pieces, but not all of them because they go different colors. So it's just easier that way to paint them off of there. That way when you're painting, spray goes in the right direction. This is that other one, same thing, just doing some guesswork, putting that in. It looks good. And here is the rear of the other nacelle. I left the flashing on there. There was no sense for me to take it off. Unless you want to do some fancy lighting work inside, no point in doing that. So we've got these right here. They're universal, 2 in each side. Make sure you don't get away all the little pins there because there's flashing on those. Just have to make sure it fits properly. Make sure the orientation is correct as well. Got one there. This is how I put it in, and then one on the other side. Just experimenting with each one. I could probably use tube glue on this too. They would go together very well. That's one nacelle. Now when I do glue these down, I'm also going to use the tube glue for this because it's super strong. And you can put rods in this, but that was the way I ensured that they would not pop off of the hull. And there you see it, the tube glue going on right there. It's great stuff. Once that was in there, it is, I promise it's not going to come out. That's what I used at least. I know we get so hyped up on use your thin cement, but you know what? Sometimes that's not always the answer. We have a lot of tools, and tube glue is still a tool regardless of what you think. So just use that. Here's the radar dish. And we are dipping our clear parts, make those look shiny and nice. This is some Pledge Revive It. Let those dry, set them aside. We'll mask them, putting on a primer coat. So the problem with the primer coat is it's gray. And the problem with the main coat is it's also gray and it's very hard to see once it's on. This is just primer. We will put on the gray coat, and this is primering the little radar. You see I glued that to something. Just give me something to turn it with. These go on later, like I said, I made those. Got our clear parts, going to paint the insides and the outsides. I've got silly putty masking them off. So I've got a copper color. I'm also going to dirty this up. Look how pretty it is. Turned out really good. It was an enamel that I used from Testors. I'm sure you can still get that stuff in the bottle. And this is the other portion of it. Very hard to get in there to spray this, so you just have to get it from a couple of different angles, weather it. I think I did a fairly decent job. It turned out great. The red, yeah, my airbrush isn't the best, so it did kind of leave some overspray, but it's hard to see. Little candy, and you can see I will actually peel off some of the paint once it dried later on down the road. It's a little oopsie, it happens. And whatever overspray you get, not a big deal. We can weather these things. I've got my silver going down here. Put 2 coats on for that. Now we are painting the main body, the gray color. Can you see it? A little bit, but it's hard to see because it's the same color. I probably should have made my paint a little more wet. It would have made it a little bit easier to see. Thin down a little more, but some paints don't need that type of thinning down. Doesn't matter because this is how I'm doing it. And this is all that I'm going to show you of the painting. We don't need to go in extreme detail of it. Just enough to where you can see that it's getting painted. We got that. Have our clear parts, how we're doing that right there. And then this. You also want to put on a clear coat on there. I did that, to seal everything in. Make sure you get along all the little edges here. There are 2 different colors. You have a gray and a dark gray. Look at that, paint peel, not a big deal. I just painted over it, did some weathering. Here's that medium gray I was talking about, or a dark gray, I can't remember which one it is. Instructions do tell you what to do, and you can also look at pictures of this thing and see. Just did it very carefully. I wasn't really worried about overspray on certain things because I knew I was going to weather this aircraft. Yes, space weathering. It's a thing, it happens. Got that thin little line going on in there. Take the tape off of that and you'll see it looks really good in the finished product. And here it is. You see how that looks? Took some of that off. There's the gray. Doing more gray on this little top portion right here. And then here's that back portion. The little thing, I don't know what you want to call that. But you can see right there how the gray turned out on the inside ring. Got more paint peels. Here comes another paint peel. Once I take the tape off of that, and you can see that, yeah, we'll fix it later. Not a big deal. And then that was also masked off. Look at the silver, looks good. We're going to put these down. and give them a little bit of paint on top, because parts of those go the light gray color of the ship, and the same as the nacelle. And if your paint job's a little uneven, it's okay. Why? Because you can weather it. It doesn't have to look brand new. So I got my glass, putting that down, presses in. You can tell it's not exactly even in there, but there's not a lot you can do about that. I've got my PVA glue that I use. Fits in perfectly, just like that. And then here's the other side of the other nacelle with these parts. And it looks good. I'm painting these a little bit darker color, and these will get a decal later on. And those look good when they're done. You've got 4 of those on each side, so just make sure you get all of them. That way the craft looks good when you finish it and make it look pretty again for model making madness. So here's that clear coat, spraying that on, seal it in so we can put our decals on. NCC-1701. I knew I would remember the number eventually. This was a birthday gift for somebody, by the way, that loves Star Trek. I do not have possession of this. I mounted it, made a nice little tray, almost got it signed by Captain Kirk himself, but could not attend the day that he was signing autographs at this particular place. Here it is, just some of the decals and how they go. Instructions aren't the greatest. You kind of have to look at pictures to see where everything goes, lines up. Like I said, you have a zillion different decals for this thing. Some of them are the windows. The windows don't line up with the raised etching, and that's on the hull, because you can do different versions of this. Maybe that's so if you wanted to like do your own little light scheme or something. I have no idea why they did it. Those, they need to be broken up before you put them on, because they do not line up. One of the strange quirks of this model, not everything worked as it should. I broke that decal, but it lined up nicely in the end. And you could see there all that raised detail where it doesn't quite line up. I wasn't worried about that. I had a decal I put on in the wrong direction, flipped it around. Have it on good there. Pay attention to that stuff. More wonderful artwork on these decals. Then these, got that little slot in there. Fits nicely right on the edge of the nacelle through the other side. We have the back portion, underside of the craft. This all lines up. Our little red deals. Danger, danger, danger. NCC-1701A. The A version. Just put all the little windows. That's basically what these are, is windows. And some rear windows. There is that bay door. Once all these decals are in place, we're going to spray another gloss coat. And that will do it for the weathering. And here's that gloss coat going on. And now the weathering. Light streaks, got some space rust, space debris hits. You see me putting that on there. Just light strokes, just to give it something. And you'll see what this looks like when it's all said and done. I've got some pictures of this at the end of this tutorial. That way you can see how I did that. More streaking. Have that copper looking radar dish. Put whatever you are. Got my green and my red lights. And this is it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment, and like. And as always, until next time, see ya.